Patrick Crowley.
My brothers and sisters, let us pray. Dear and gracious God, someone once said that angels fly because they take themselves so lightly. You know how well our brother, our friend Pat, embodied that piece of wisdom. He was a servant of truth. He could laugh at himself. He laughed readily with others. And now he has been called home. You have set a limit, O God, to this present life, so that you might open a door to eternal life. You are the way, the truth, and life. Our friend and brother Pat was a servant of the truth, seeking to discover, to share it with others, to shed light on the common humanity that we all share. Give him eternal rest. Keep him in your loving arms. May we who mourn his passing be reunited one day with him. Together, may we know the joy and glory of being with you forever. All praise, honor, and glory belongs to you, now and forever. Amen.
I'm going to give you eye contact because I'm scared I'll lose it. First off, I just want to thank everyone for being here, for the overwhelming amount of love and support we've received. Although we've not been able to show it yet, we're beyond appreciative. It means everything to us. We were just talking about how much my dad would have loved this. All the memories, all the stories, things like that. And although they're hard to read, they do bring a lot of comfort to the family. Just knowing how much he was loved and how much he touched people. But how do I stand up here and find the words to tribute my dad? That Crowley. All that he was could not be wrapped up into one speech or one day. We've all read the wonderful tributes. And all of us here know the incredible man he was. I don't have to list off all the qualities. We all know. His energy was contagious, fun, kind, thoughtful, sweet, hilarious, and incredibly smart. He was there, it was going to be fun, no matter what you were doing. You were going to be laughing. He never cared about money, or ego, or any recognition. He just cared about people. This is simple as that. It was a gift that he had. He made friends anywhere we would go. We would just be mind blown by it. We'd be in the elevator in Indiana somewhere. And we would talk to the guy about how he knew a baseball player or something. You know how he was. Sports knowledge. He would meet aspiring journalists and politicians, give them advice and encourage them. He was a mentor for countless people. He would connect people so they could help out each other in any way, in business or personal life. He would work for free for nonprofits without blinking an eye. All he ever wanted to do was just help. It didn't matter if you were a stranger. You reached out and asked him, Pat Crowley was going to help you. But I got to witness the great Pat Crowley my whole life. And even at 35, I would still just be so impressed by him on a daily basis. Whether it was watching him pitch a new client, MC a dinner, work a room, or just hang with my kids. You know, he wore many hats, as we all know. He had many jobs. But none ever he took us seriously or loved much as being a husband and a grandpa. I don't think I'll ever be able to explain to you how great of a dad he was. I don't think I'll ever be able to even comprehend it myself. The things I learned from him, the experiences, the memories. I really haven't even gone there yet in my head. I haven't gone to the childhood. I just can't. But you know, he was offered through our whole life multiple amazing job opportunities to go write in Washington, D.C. or New York for huge news outlets. And he never even second-guessed to turn it down because he never wanted to uproot his family. He never wanted to cause any stress and harm to us, his kids. We just always came first. They say the highest form of love is consideration. And my dad did not make one single decision in his family life without considering me and my mom and coming first. You know, growing up, I always thought he was just the funniest and coolest and smartest guy there was. And a lot of us think that of other dads, right? And then as I got older, those opinions never changed. And I would think I had to be biased, you know, and he was my dad. Of course, I thought he was the best and he was just the funniest, but, you know, I'm learning if I'm learning in this past week that I was not biased. He really was the funniest and the smartest and kindest person in the room. How could one single person hold all of these amazing qualities? You know, I've grown my whole life with people saying, oh, that's Pat Crowley's daughter. And when I first started working, I would just be like, oh God, you know, that's what I'm always gonna be recognized as. But it never really did bother me because I've just always been so proud of him. And now I just hope people come up to me and say that, you know. I can't really comprehend why he's been taken from us so early. But how lucky was I to have him for 35 years, and I got to work with him every day for the past 11. I will feel completely lost without him, and I will for a while. But I know how lucky I was to have him for all those years. Just what breaks my heart is that my kids won't have that. And he loved being a grandpa. And then just the fact that my kids won't get those pawpaw jokes and adventures and sports lessons throughout their lives is the part that destroys me the most. If I could pick one lesson from my dad, and I think the true sense of all his happiness and joy and positivity that he radiated, it was just to be grateful. He was just always so thankful and grateful for his life and everything that he had. Lastly, I just want to read a letter he wrote my mom in 1992 on their 5th wedding anniversary. On our 5th wedding anniversary, how do I thank someone for saving my life? That's what you did, you know. You took me away from desperation and despair, poverty and a dead-end job and a bleak future, and you gave me life. A life I'm so proud of, that I love as much as I love you. A life filled with kids and animals, promise and excitement, where every day is an adventure that I cannot live without. A day doesn't go by that I don't get a reminder of what I once was and who I am now. Someone tells me I look nice in my suit, or that I'm a good father, or they like my new car, or that I have a beautiful wife and a precious daughter, that I'm somebody. Before you, there was just the guys, and no offense to the guys, but I prefer you. Some people think I go overboard with the amount of time I spend at home. Maybe I should play golf, join softball teams, get Bengal season tickets, take road trips with Joe Ritter, hang out in the bars with the guys from Springdale. No way. Put me on my couch, a good movie, a great book. My sexy wife sitting in the room with me, my little girl playing there on the floor. The deranged and dumb dog talking to a walnut. Fat cat rolling around, another cat looking out the window. And that's just my idea of a wild Saturday night. I used to be loud, broke, drive a bad car, had a worse haircut, dressed like a World War II veteran, missing half of my front tooth. A job that made people make fun of and little hope for the future. And then I walked into the dump report on a freezing December night and I met you and life was suddenly good. I shudder to think where I would be without you. And no matter what I accomplish in this life, I truly believe it will be much. You will have the satisfaction of knowing that you made it happen. Not by nagging and pointing out my mistakes, nor faults. You just did it by being you. And now the whole goofy thing, you have to admit, we don't have a normal household. As I write this, the cat and dog are chasing each other up the steps. It's about to change when our beautiful little baby girl will be born. So they told, the doctors told my mom that Connor was going to be a girl. and she didn't find out to the very last ultrasound, like right before the birth. She didn't tell him. So it was a surprise. So please don't think I'm disappointed about not having a boy. How can I be disappointed about anything? A little more than 5 years ago, I drove a beat-up Ford Escort and had no telephone, and now I'm sitting in my house on a dead-end street in one of the nicest communities around, with money in the bank, a job of my dreams, 2 kids, although one is still tucked away in her belly, and a wife that still draws tears from men even though she's 7 months pregnant. I don't even know what disappointed means anymore. I know sometimes, okay, a lot of times, I can be difficult to live with. I can be moody and short-tempered and hyper. Come to think of it, what the hell are you doing with me? But believe it, I'm as much in love with you today as I ever have been. Thanks for 5 wonderful years and thanks for saving my life. So 2 nights before he passed, the day after Christmas, he sat at the table with my mom and said these same things. How happy he was. How grateful he was. Business was booming. His daughter and grandkids just moved 2 minutes up the road. He had an amazing wife and his beloved animals. And he was just so beyond grateful and happy at where he was in life and what he had. And I say that because I just want everyone to know that he died very happy, fulfilled, and a thankful man. And if anything brings comfort to me, it's that. I'll miss you forever, man. You're a part of me. I still need you. And I don't really know how I'm going to do it without you. But I will, because you always taught me to be strong. You're my best friend, my boss, my mentor, my confidant, and everything. You were always so close. Second I'm born. And I love you and I'll miss you forever.
lot of folks here today. I'm still having a hard time processing our friend, our buddy, background. People who come here today, they've been extremely interested since the beginning today. It shows the impact that he had in this community. What a remarkable man that he was. A man of intelligence, drive, humor, compassion, kindness, and love. My friendship with Pat goes back to the 1980s. We were both 23 years ago. First met Pat when I was 23 years old. I was a newspaper reporter working for the Kentucky Post, and he worked for the Boone County Recorder. We read competing newspapers covering Boone County, government and politics, economic development. Boone County was a lot different back then. Democrats held all elected offices, and mainly in rural farm communities. We had an airport, not quite the airport we have today, but we had a lot of fun back then. We were young, we were single, we did socializing, we played basketball, and we definitely had fun. And then the best thing that happened to us, we found a couple of Campbell County girls named Crowley here in Southgate, Enquirer, from Fort Thomas. And they both sanded those rough edges off us, as he ultimately spoke, as he always does in his letter to families. And they helped us focus, and by God, that night was perspective. But one thing that helped focus us was getting married and having kids. And that certainly helped us focus. Shortly after we married, our lives took a different path. Pat stayed as a journalist. And spoiler alert, he was an award-winning journalist. I never became that. Instead, I went into law and then into public service. I became a city manager and a city attorney. And so we kind of drifted apart a little bit because we have family, we're raising our families. But eventually, we moved back. We both moved our families for Thomas. And ironically, our kids became friends in high school and rekindled our friendship. So, I do want to talk a bit about Pat as a reporter because he was the most amazing reporter I've ever seen. I've seen a lot of reporters in my time. I worked for Post, I worked for Global Coverage Journal. I'm an avid reader of newspapers, but he was something else. His output as a reporter, and there are some reporters here that I saw today working with him, was legendary. He would sometimes put out 3 or 4 stories a day as a reporter. And there would be this internal competition, not official, at the Enquirer, who could write more stories. And Pat would, they think they were getting close to Pat, and he would just leave them in the dust. In the year, he was always dozens, hundreds of stories ahead of everybody else. He was remarkable. Every reporter, Pat was everywhere. Chamber meetings, political events, city council, district court meetings, legislative sessions, Frankfort, Washington, church festivals, supermarket, wherever you were, there he was. He was making friends, he was learning information, and he was telling stories and jokes. No matter where Pat was the life of the party, and he was making new friends. He also hosted 2 long-running television shows on cable TV, On the Record, the Public Affairs Show, and the Northern Kentucky Magazine, which was a morning feature program. I see a number of people that here who were actually on those shows, which was very respected. The number of influential state and federal legislators would come to Northern Kentucky just to appear on his show. You would see Mitch McConnell, the Republican leader in the Senate, on Meet the Press in NBC's Washington studio on a Sunday, and 2 days later you'd see him on the local cable station talking to Pat. Now, Pat and Senator McConnell's politically a little bit, I'd say, incompatible, but they had mutual respect for each other. And that's the thing about Pat Crowley. I look in this room and we have people of all political ideologies and backgrounds. Pat was friends with everyone. He was somebody you could trust. He's somebody that would listen to you, who would always agree with you, and be tell you why. Interestingly, Pat, Senator McConnell had this to say shortly after Pat's death. He said Pat was one of the finest political journalists in Kentucky, and quote, over a long and distinguished career, Pat's work in the Commonwealth drew wide attention and well-earned national acclaim. So, Pat was a very successful journalist, but he also was a very successful public relations and lobbyist at Strategic Advisors. Pat left his career in 2019 to join me in building that business, and which has grown now, 15 years later, with his daughter, and Greg Green, and many other folks, into a very successful public affairs, public relations, and digital media company. The genesis of that business started in 2019 when we were in a Washington, D.C. fly-in. I was leaving Covington, I had a new mayor there, we didn't see eye to eye. Pat was frustrated with the Enquirer, working conditions and things they were doing. And we just seen a lobbyist speak. And we said, that's really cool, that was really interesting. Why don't we start a business where we do lobbying and advocacy and public relations rolled into one? And that was the beginning of Strategic Advisors. We couldn't have picked the first time to start it, of course. It was in the middle of the Great Recession. We had 2 kids. I had a kid in college, he had a kid in college, and others on the way. But with the help of our friends, David Heider, who gave us a space in the Chamber building for next to nothing, the mortgage company obviously left during the Great Recession, and he let us go in there. Jack Moreland, our very first client, Southgate Harvey's, Wayne Carlisle, Ray Beal, they were there. They were our first client, followed by Jeffy and FC1. And there we started the business, and we went from there. And of course, Shayna, she graduated from Western University, our first full-time employee. My daughter Meredith came on, worked there. We brought Greg in as a partner, and now they have many other employees that are there. 15 years on later, the firm's going strong. Watching Pat work was amazing. In his office, he would work on so he worked the phone like he was a reporter. It was interesting with reporters. They reached out to Pat more than he reached out to them. The reporters needed information about a breaking news event, especially in Northern Kentucky. They knew Pat Crowley would have that information, or they could do what he did. Or they needed an expert in historical medicine, law, or any other subject matter. Pat would find them one before their death. There was a trust, and they could tell him things, and he could tell them things, and he would tell them things, and they said, "Can't repeat this," it would not be repeated. More than anything, Pat was a gatherer and broker of information. He developed sources everywhere, and knew everybody in our community, as you can see today. Again, people trusted Pat, and that's one of the big reasons he was so successful. We had a lot of fun at Strategic Advisors. I mean, working with Pat was like going to a comedy club every day. Oh my gosh. Of course, our Friday night happy hours were legendary. Pat would send out the Pat signal on his phone, made on a Friday afternoon, telling people to come over. There would be elected officials, candidates for office of all political persuasions, lawyers, doctors, police officers, financial advisors, civic leaders, and even sometimes the village janitor would join us. Beer and bourbon would flow, along with spirited conversations. And despite the various political and ideological differences in the room, everyone was respectful to each other, which created a great vibe. I think it's a testament to Pat and to the people he invited to those happy hours. Occasionally there'd be a dust up. That would be when Steve Frank would come over. So, I'm going to talk about some things that made Pat the man that he was. I'll start off with humor. Oh my God. His wit and his sense of humor were amazing. Many of you witnessed these attributes when he was the master of ceremonies at many of the events we had in our communities. For instance, the Chamber's Eggs and Issues, Business Council, Company Business Council lunches. I remember one of these events, I think St. Elizabeth was the sponsor, and it was in the midst of promoting a public health campaign in the region. Part of that campaign, they gave out pedometers, which tracked the number of steps you take. This before we had our watches and all those things to do the fancy stuff. So Pat told the audience that he had gotten one of those pedometers. One night he decided to use it. He was going to go from his office down to Hotel Covington, to have a few drinks with some of his friends. So he says, I'm gonna turn this on, I'm gonna walk down there. Walk down, check it, 254 steps. He said, after he got done, a couple hours later, he put it back on, he walked back to his office, 478 steps. The reason I say that is because it's a perfect example of Pat's humor. More often than not, his humor was self-effacing. It was about himself, about his foibles, not about someone else. Pat knew that that kind of humor could be harmful or hurtful to someone when he made fun of them. So he always made fun of himself. And that's the kind of man he was. Which is the perfect segue into my next topic, which is Pat's compassion, his kindness, and his charity. Pat had a big time. He was one of the most kind, compassionate people I've ever known. I believe this is a byproduct of his family, the Crowley family, and his Catholic faith. Over the years, Pat has done many things, quite often quietly behind the scenes to help many people and many organizations. A good example is the annual Christmas celebration and dinner for homeless and less fortunate, held on Christmas Day at the Northern Kentucky Convention Center. 15 years ago, when our firm was just starting, Pat helped organize and publicize what has now become an annual event, and he has attended that event every day on Christmas Day since that time, where he serves food and provides gifts for children. Pat told me a story the other day when they were there. They had 100 bikes probably. All those bikes were gone, and 2 young girls were and where were the bikes? Pat found their name, where they lived, and he and Camp got bikes to give to those kids. That's the kind of guy he was. Pat has given many hours to other organizations. For example, the Northern Kentucky Emergency Food Shelter. He provided hours for PR, advocacy, lobbying services for this organization, and so many more. Pam and Pat also rescued and cared for dozens of injured animals and abandoned animals. They took the worst, the ones that no one else wanted. Dogs without legs, cats without eyes, cats beloved muzzle. Their 3 legs. Chihuahua was his shadow that followed him everywhere, albeit a tiny little shadow. It was amazing. And then there are many Fort Thomas youngsters that Pat coached in baseball, football, soccer, and basketball. I saw a lot of them here tonight. They're all adults now, but as a coach for the Woodfield Warriors, Pat coached many of these kids for 8 straight years, from the 1st grade to the 8th grade. These kids loved to have Coach Crowley, especially his rousing pep talks about how they weren't going to keep the Southies down. They would go through the walls with that. He was also a mentor for so many people who were interested in getting in politics, PR, lobbying, or whatever. He'd always take time from his busy schedule to meet with these people, no matter how old or who they were. And I just talked to Jerry Smith. He said he met him when he was speaking at a political science class. He had an NKU. This was an NKU student, and he said, "Let's go to lunch. Let's lunch." And from that, they became a lifetime friendship. That's the background. And it's interesting, you look at the Crowley family, I think, and unfortunately, I only got to meet David Crowley one time. He was already sick. We just started our firm. We had lunch at Grandview Gardens. And for those of you who don't know David Crowley, you probably heard his name. He used to be a city councilor in Cincinnati. But before that, he ran an orphanage in Bosnia during the Civil War there. I believe it was through a Catholic organization, not sure what it was. I know the family know. I'm sure he did that for close to 10 years. And think about the atrocities he saw in that role. He was there serving those young people who were devastated by war. The only reason he came home when he did so reluctantly is because he had to come home and help the family business, Crowley Highland House, which he did, and got it on its feet. And then he saw he needed another role he needed to fill, and that was on the city council. And in that role, typical Crowley fashion, he crossed party aisles. He brought people together. And so I think Pat Crowley Dave as well as his dad, this gregarious man who knew everybody in his community as well. So I think it's kind of a genetic thing with the Crowley family. Yeah, they know him as Duke. I drove to the pub up there. Here, Duke, that was Pat. What a great family, and I know we love being part of that family. Speaking of family, let's talk about the family here in the front row. Not to the devoted husband, Pam, we love her so much. His daughter, Tina, on the crowd. Grandkids, Joe, Sloan, he adored them. His Sundays were devoted to them. He was so excited when Shannon came to work with the firm, so excited when Connor came to work with the firm. He was loved, deeply loved his family. Before BG, before grandkids, on Sundays, Connor and I and Jay, fathers and sons would play golf. And those were wonderful memories. And once those grandkids came, Bob was out the window one Sunday. Grandkids were the main thing in his life. I know I speak for many people here today. When I say that Pat's passing has placed a big hole in all our hearts, and part of our community. He touched so many people. There's an old Irish saying that's apt in describing Pat Crowley and his beautiful life. And it's that death leaves a heartache that no one can heal. But love leaves a memory that no one can see. Everyone loved Pat Crowley. And she reciprocated that love in the way he lived his life. Thank you, Pat, for being my friend, my business partner, my role model. I love you, and I miss you. Rest in peace.
In the political world, and I'm so as an elected official. And this is an incredibly tough thing for all of us. But I'm grateful and I'm honored to be here and celebrating Pat's life. As soon as I walked in the room, I felt the warmth and the love and the light, which is an extension certainly who Pat was. And so I am so honored. Thank you to the family, to the entire Crowley family, to his wife Pam, to his children Connor and Jamie. Thank you for including me in the celebration of his life. And that truly is what it is, because Pat was a gift. He was a gift to all he encountered and one that kept him. I believe it was because he had so many great attributes and dimensions to his character. When you saw Pat, your first thought may have been, wow, that's a pretty tough looking dude. And he certainly was. My image of Pat will always be him standing up straight with a jacket on, button-down shirt, pink when he was leaving the meeting, no tie, and that iconic leather bag. But he was also a gentle soul. He was generous. He was an honest man, one of integrity. Pat was a truth teller. He was a straight shooter. He was thoughtful and principled. He regularly showed up to a bi-weekly stakeholder meeting concerning renters in Cincinnati, and he contributed. And although he represented the apartment association, he was present because he sought to work together and to collaborate. And he would always reiterate the importance of that. He never jumped to conclusions or to judge. He just showed up in good faith to be a partner, and always with a positive attitude. And even as we discuss legislation that might appear to have been one-sided, he sought to listen, to understand, and to find common ground. I believe with qualities like these, Pat made an impact on all sides. He could cross the aisle, make friends and acquaintances from all walks of life. And he crossed the river as well, making such an impact in Ohio and in Kentucky. Pat was humble. He had impeccable instincts, and he was observant. On several occasions, he would say to me and make observations about people around him who said, you know what, that person's really sharp. To me, Pat was like the MVP, an all-star, an absolute original. And I would even venture to say that most importantly, he was like a coach. He was selfless, was there when you needed him, and you could count on his advice, because he only wanted the best for you. And even in his last days, Pat was there for me in a very tough time. I would call and he would pick up the phone and he would give me his advice. Which is why our friend, a mutual friend, had this bracelet made with the initials WWPD. What would that do? A reminder that his honest words, generosity, wisdom, sound advice, listening ear, ability to collaborate and uplift should always be remembered. And now I believe it is up to us to take the advice he's given, the words of encouragement, his example of honesty and integrity, and make him proud. That's what I believe he would have wanted. And so Pat, my dear friend, I will miss you greatly.
Tomorrow